On today's Join Us in France, hiking around the Bordeaux area with Stephanie and Dawn. This is Join Us in France, episode 144. Bonjour, I'm Annie, and today I bring you my conversation with Stephanie and Dawn about their adventures on a self-guided hike through the Bordeaux countryside. The shout-out today goes out to Robert Hoover for sending in a donation via the Tip Your Guide button on Join Us in France. Much appreciated, Robert. Another shout-out today goes out to Reba Franklin because she's been so nice and so considerate to me. She's one of the people who is coming on the tour between May 14th and May 21st. I ran into several issues having to do with payments. All of them my fault. And by some bad luck, every time there was a problem, it was on her reservation. So it's all fixed now, and hopefully it won't ever happen again. But thank you so much for being nice about it, Reba. So I had to renew my U.S. passport this month, and I must say that the U.S. Embassy in Paris was really helpful in moving things along. An employee called me to follow up on a mistake I had made, and 2 weeks later, ta-da, here's the passport. So I'm very happy about that, but the passport photo, oh goodness, it's the worst yet. We have this saying in French that you can't control what face you were born with, but you should pay attention to your attitude and demeanor, like smile or something. So we say, tu ne peux pas changer la tête avec laquelle tu es né, mais tu n'as pas besoin de faire la tête. I'll write it down for you. Tu ne peux pas changer la tête avec laquelle tu es né, mais tu n'as pas besoin de faire la tête. Okay. I'll repeat it at the end of the episode. I'll do a proper French tip of the week. But anyway, on your passport photo, you cannot smile. And when I don't smile, I frighten myself. I don't know why anybody would let me in their country with a face like that. But we'll see if it works. I'll hope for the best. What a couple of weeks this has been for me. 2 years ago, I started having problems with my gallbladder. And the doctor sent me to do some tests, and they were inconclusive, and the pain went away. So I never gave it another thought. Well, the gallbladder unpleasantness woke up again, and with a vengeance. I had a very unpleasant weekend. I saw the doctor on Monday. He said, that again. And he sent me to do another blood test. The results were inconclusive again, but I was glad to hear that my liver isn't fried on account of all the wine I drink. So that was good. But no, my liver's just fine. And I'm going to go do an ultrasound in a couple of days. And I suspect that it will be inconclusive again. But by now, the pain is mostly gone. So what he told me is, you can't have fat. You can't eat fat. And this is so sad. This is why I'm bringing it up, because I'm not supposed to have cheese, pastries, beef, pork. I don't care about the beef and the pork. But the cheese and the pastries and the butter, it'll kill me. So I'm in mourning. But I can tell it's helping. So I'm trying to be good. So this week I had to buy whole wheat bread. Can you imagine? I'm in France and I buy whole wheat bread. This is like sacrilege. Maybe I have to wear black every day too. In mourning, I eat bananas and apples and things like that, and bland foods and stuff. So Elise is making fun of me because she's the reasonable one. She always takes care of her. She's very careful about what she eats. And so she's like, hey, it serves you right. And she's told me that the next time we get together, she's going to give me some tips about how to eat low fat. So she knows. So my mother suffered with gallbladder issues for a good 10 years before she had to have surgery. And I hope it's not that slow for me because but by the time she had surgery, she had, I think it was 18 gallbladder stones. They were the size of chickpeas, it was really bad. So And the other thing I have to tell you about this is that French low-fat yogurt is just as bad as American low-fat yogurt. Turns out it's the fat content that makes the yogurt taste good. It's no better here. So now you have to feel sorry for me. And if you have some hopeful stories about how your gallbladder magically got better, please let me know. I want to hear. All right, I released Lunch Break French yesterday, and it's on the French composer Claude Debussy. This one is a medium advanced kind of Lunch Break French. You know, it's difficult for me to find the right balance because I don't want to make it too simple, because there are lots and lots of tools out there to help you learn basic French. You know, Duolingo is one of them. It's an app on your phone, and it teaches you a little bit of French every day. And it's pretty good. If you need to drill down into French grammar, then Laura K. Lawless, who has been on the show, she was on episode 25, and she does Lawless French. She has really good grammatical explanation, and you know, she's good for the intermediate stuff. I think what's not out there very much is advanced to, you know, not so advanced that it's fluent and university, you know, paper level, but you know, a little bit more than that, a little bit more everyday, what you'd actually hear every day. If you just lived in France. And so that's where I'm trying to position Lunch Break French. I'd like to get some feedback from you. If you're a Patreon donor and you get Lunch Break French and you listen to it, I'd love to know, you know, if it's too hard for you or too simple for you, or if you need different help. That kind of thing would be really precious to me, because I have a hard time imagining where your French is at, you know. Speaking of Lunch Break French, thank you so much to all the listeners who support the show on Patreon and are therefore getting Lunch Break French. You are making a huge difference, and I hope you know how much I appreciate your continued support. To do the same yourself, you could go to patreon.com/join us, Patreon, and join us is no spaces or dashes or anything. And thank you very, very much. If you like this episode, you should also check out episode 44. That one is all about Bordeaux. And episode 47 about Bayonne, because Bayonne is not very far from Bordeaux. Episode 60 is also about the Basque Country, not very far at all. For show notes on this episode, go to joinusinfrance.com/144. Elise and I are going to lead a week-long tour in Paris between May 14th and May 21st, 2017. It's coming up really quickly, and I'm very excited about it. If you love France, culture, great food, a lovely glass of wine now and then, and you want to travel with us, take a look at addictedtofrance.com. We are delighted to have seen the response to the tour. All the people who have booked so far, all 10 of them, are all paid up, so the tour is definitely going. We have 4 more spots. It's not too late to join if you would like to do that. A few people have emailed me to say they couldn't be with us for the whole week, but would like to be with us on specific days. I've talked back to some of them and not to all of them, because sometimes I lose emails, and I do apologize about that, but I get so many. Well, I'm sure it's just like you, except that with the show I get even more than I used to. So anyway, if you are interested, send me an email. I'm ready to start looking at that right now. Again, for details on the tour, the dates and all that, and what we're doing on what day, go to addictedtofrance.com. And if you want to connect with the Join Us in France community, I strongly encourage you to go to Facebook and search for Join Us in France closed group. Then ask to join and I'll let you in. It's the most helpful group of Francophiles anywhere on the internet. You guys know your stuff. You are full of good advice and good suggestions. And I'm there also as much as I can. So that's the Join Us in France closed group. All right, it's time for my conversation with Stephanie and Dawn about hiking around Bordeaux and its lovely countryside. Hello, Stephanie and Dawn. Welcome to Join Us in France.
Oh, good morning.
Hi, thank you.
How are you?
We are great.
Yeah? Well,
Yeah.
we are recording this on a wintry day in Toulouse. It's windy and it's not very nice. How's the weather where you are?
Oh my gosh, it's minus 24 here today with a wind chill.
Celsius.
Oh,
Yeah, but it's a nice, bright, sunny morning so far. So I think it's going to be a good day if you're inside.
so I guess this is a good time to tell us where you are.
Absolutely. So we're in New Brunswick, Canada.
Wow, and it's that cold? Minus 24 Celsius?
Yes.
Ooh, that's brutal. Oh,
Yes.
We wear
say that again?
we wear layers of clothing.
You must, yes. Well, today we're going to be reminiscing about much warmer weather.
Yes.
Back when you took a hiking tour around the Bordeaux area, which is really intriguing to me because I've never done that. So, but it's something that's appealing. Do you have to be like athletes to do something like that?
I do not think you need to be a quote-unquote athlete to do that. However, you do need to prepare. The tour that we took, we had a good estimate of how many kilometers a day we'd be hiking. So anywhere between 8 and I think 18 on any given day. So we did prepare by walking for months and months and months.
Right.
And that's what you need to do, really, to get ready.
Honestly, I mean, it's just we went walking like on the regular trails. We went hiking in some of our parks around the area here, and just just to get the miles, like the mileage on your feet. That's really the only thing that you need to do.
Mm-hmm. So did you get special shoes or special socks or anything like that?
Well, we both wore hiking boots. Actually, there's 4 of us on the tour, so we all wore hiking boots. I would definitely recommend that because some of the trails, they're not flat. So I think it provides a little bit more support than just a regular sneaker does.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the challenge, of course, is because hiking boots are a little bit heavy and a little bit bulky, is getting them, from your point of origin to the hike. So it takes a little bit of planning that way too.
Well, I guess you could put them on your feet and then you just wear them.
That's
Yeah.
what I did, yeah. And my hiking boots I've had them for, 2 or 3 years now, and they were well broken in, which is something I would recommend. And I also had gel insoles in my hiking boots.
Yeah. I tend to, I walk probably 5K every day.
Oh,
but,
good.
Just on trails around my house too. But I have hiking boots, and I usually wear them down like maybe after 2 years. I have no grip left on the bottom, so I replace them. But they can last a long time, and some of them are pretty light. I like the ones from LL Bean, but some other places make that sort of thing. All right, so that's encouraging that you don't need to be, in super duper good shape. That if you can take a long hike. So what do you think is the longest hike you did in a day on this tour?
Well, I think it was supposed to be 18 kilometers, but because we got lost so often, we ended up hiking, 20 plus kilometers a couple of the days.
Yeah, that's a lot. I think I can do 10 quite without being uncomfortable. But 20, yeah.
And it was hot.
And it was very warm. So it was, the combination of the getting lost, which increased our distance, and the temperature really of the day. Some days it wasn't like super pleasurable right at certain points, but
yeah. Well, yeah.
It was always good at the end of the day when we found the local watering hole and had a glass of rosé. So, that was the bonus for us.
Light at the tunnel.
Yeah.
So there were 4 of you friends going.
Yes.
And you've known each other for a long time.
Yes.
That's really good.
We planned the trip over the course of probably a year and a half. We initially we were talking about hiking in England, and then we decided we'd go to France, and then we looked at various tour companies. And Dawn and I are planners, so we had spreadsheets and surveys and all sorts of things to narrow it down to what we wanted to do. And the tour that we chose is called Bordeaux Wine Trails, and that we went on. It started in Bordeaux itself.
Okay, and so tell us more about that specific tour. Well, tell us in general, how do these tours work? Like, what happens every day? You show up, somebody greets you, and what?
So the first day, we actually went to Bordeaux for a couple of days before our tour started. So the tour operator actually picked us up at our apartment that we had rented and transferred us to Saint-Émilion, which was the first stop on the walking tour. So we got to spend a day there. But when we arrived at that hotel, since it was a starting point, they're the ones who handed us a little pack of maps and instructions. And I think and then basically said, here you go. It was it was a self-guided tour. So we didn't have a tour operator. We never actually saw one of the tour operators in person. So it was kind of interesting. And I mean, I think it's very doable. We learned a couple things along the way, obviously, but, each day we would set out and we had 2 sets of maps. So we would have 2 people reading the instructions, trying to make sure that we were heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
Which, as we discussed, wasn't always successful. So, but it was good though. It's, and I'm not sure, I think it would have been great to have someone who actually was like a guided tour, because then you would get all of that extra background information of what you're seeing and why you're seeing it, and all the specific places. Yeah,
it's completely it's a different. The advantage of doing this sort of self-guided tour is the traveler is completely independent from the guide. The company. You never even see them. They provide the services that they've agreed to provide, and you go when you want and do what you want. That's good, but then you can also get lost.
Yes. So we very quickly discovered that our instructions had been obviously translated from French to English. So there were some phrases and words that we're very literal people. So if for instance, the instructions said, you're going to walk along and you're going to turn right at the green marker, then we turned right at the green marker, but they didn't necessarily mean the first green marker.
Yeah.
So we very quickly learned that the directions we were given were not to be taken literally.
Oh, wow. But that's a problem. So then once you realize that you shouldn't take them literally, what did you do after that?
We relied on the kindness of strangers, really.
We did. We are 4 working professionals, and we kind of figured we would end up getting lost at some point. We were quite surprised that we got lost the very first day, just hiking around the Saint-Émilion area. But we were on an adventure, and it was a lovely sunny day. We're in the countryside in France. It was a lovely vacation. But it was frustrating when the first day in particular, they had scheduled a wine tasting for us at a local winery. So I can't remember
That's nice.
We had to be there at, 3 o'clock or something.
3 p.m.
Right.
So we only had to hike to get there, I think 5 kilometers. Well, we can all hike about 5 kilometers here in an hour.
Right.
So we had a leisurely lunch in Saint-Émilion, and then kind of set out for our little stroll, our little 5K stroll.
Yeah.
And promptly got lost. We were stopping to take pictures along the way as well, but we promptly got lost. The time was passing. We were in the middle of a vineyard, and we really had no idea where we were at one point.
Oh, yeah.
So we ended up, because we were in danger at this point of missing the wine tour, which, would be a major catastrophe.
That's a disaster, right? Yeah.
We ended up flagging down a kind gentleman who tried to explain in broken English how we would get to the place we were going. And then after, 15 minutes of this, he kind of gave up and offered to drive us there.
It turns out he's one of the neighboring vineyard managers.
Okay.
So it was, of course he knew where he was going.
Well, yeah, he knows exactly how you get there. He probably told you, well, you fools, like, why don't you go on the road? If you go on the road, it just takes you there.
Exactly. So when we got to the vineyard, he actually knew the lady who was giving the tour to us. So he dropped us off, and we were only about 10 minutes later for the tour. So we did the tour, and then we were chatting with the lady afterwards, the tour guide, and she said, she in Canada, you would never dream of walking through someone's field on private land. You just wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But the lady indicated to us that it was perfectly fine to walk through any vineyard in France. Whereas before, if we were lost, we were sticking to the roads. But she told us it was perfectly acceptable and nobody would be shooting at us if we...
No, nobody will shoot at you, no.
Yeah, so that was an eye-opener on the first day.
Yeah, no, nobody will hurt you or say anything, but the thing is, you might run into a wall or a fence or a ditch or, I don't know, something that you have to turn around and avoid that obstacle. But that's, but yeah, it's not against, I don't know if it's the law or if it's just usage. I mean, it's just every day you can walk. And typically all these vineyards, they will have kind of access roads for the vehicles that go harvest. And so these are patted down kind of areas where, I mean, if it's just rained, it's going to be muddy, but they're kind of semi-roads. Yeah? Is that what you saw?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So they're like not a trail really, but it's wide enough for a farm vehicle to go through.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you follow those, typically you're nobody's way. I mean, it's just fine.
Yeah, so we learned that the first day, which made it a lot easier for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's true, if you want to not get lost, I mean, you take like the paved road, which I think that's what I would end up doing a lot, is like, instead of, if the indications were not real clear to me, which the only times I've ever tried to really hike on, in paths that I didn't know, I got lost. And so I just find a road and I'm like, okay, the nearest village to where I want to go and go in that direction.
Yeah. And the tour was actually, it wasn't always in vineyards. So it had a nice mix of different areas that you were hiking in. So sometimes you were along a river, sometimes you were through fields. Other times it was like through the vineyards actually themselves, but,
or little villages.
Little villages. Yeah. It was really,
but it avoided roads.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
We didn't avoid roads.
No, we would when we knew we were lost and we had to make up some time, we would get out our phones and Google Maps and figure out where we were and how we could cut some time off to get to the place we needed to. So you
had set appointments. You had set points, rendezvous points, I guess you would call them, with. Like for tours, for your dinners, for your lunches, all of that? Was all of that planned out for you?
The dinners were planned and the accommodations were planned, and the touring company transported our main suitcases for us every day. But the first day we did have that wine tour scheduled. But other than that, we pretty much had the whole day to get where we were going.
Okay.
So the first day in Saint-Émilion, at the end of that day, we were being transported to the second stop on the tour, which was Saint-Martin-de-Lerme.
Yeah.
We got into a van to be transported, and we met a retired couple from Scotland named Moira and Jock.
Yeah.
And by sheer coincidence, they were doing the same tour that we were with the same tour company.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, they were not. They had used a different tour company. But it was the same maps and tour and everything.
Okay. Huh.
However,
Jock, I smell a rat.
So Jock, he has a friend who works for Randonnée Maps. They were seasoned hikers, Jock and Moira, and they had done these walking tours before. So Jock knew enough to have his own set of maps. So he had these laminated, highlighted maps with him, as well as a kilometer counter. Which would have been a lot easier for us, I think, if we had had one. So that it's a little thing I think you wear on your belt that it actually marks your kilometers as you're going.
On your belt?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
The instructions that we had from the tour company, they did indicate, walk along 3.5 kilometers, you will see this. But we had no idea. We were only going from memory what we estimated to be 3.5 kilometers.
Right. And we're no good at that. I mean, people, unless you know the walk you're doing, you don't know anything.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. And so the maps, the instructions that they gave you did not include like maybe photographs of landmarks where you needed to turn or anything like that?
No.
or maybe GPS coordinates? I don't know.
No. So it's like the one good thing if you understand the system is throughout France there's those the signposts, those markers. They either have green or green and yellow or red like paint around them. And so sometimes we would see a green and yellow one and we weren't quite sure if that was the one that we were supposed to turn at because it just said turn at the green. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say when I was 18, I did a tour like that, but it was with a group it was like a youth camp kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And we hiked through the Grenoble area. Mm-hmm. But we had our backpacks and we had our tents, we had our food with us. It was really, really hard. Anyway, I remember searching for these markers. I mean, France is all over France. You have these randonnée pédestre things or grande randonnée. You have the GR. GR stands for grande randonnée, and they're numbered and they have colors. But even if you know exactly what you're looking for, sometimes somebody, took out the sometimes you just don't see it. Like somebody moved it or the wind blew it out. Who knows?
Or the paint wearing off some of them.
Right. Sometimes they paint them on a tree or they paint them on a post and then you see nothing left. Yeah. I remember that. I mean, you can actually go all through Europe with these, GR, kind of paths. You can go through, you can do, all sorts of things. If you can follow the thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the key, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. Well, if I ever do anything like that, I'll be looking for like coordinates. I mean, now it's the era of GPS. There's no reason why you couldn't map your trail with, GPS coordinates. At least at set points, like, you go at every turn, give you the coordinates. Once you get to that coordinate, turn.
Exactly.
I mean, it's simple enough, if you can't send a guide. Anyway, that's very interesting. So, what would you say is the thing you enjoyed the most and the least about this experience overall?
That's a good question. About the hike itself? Yeah. So, I think what I enjoyed the most, I mean, just in general, that it was an active vacation. Yeah. So for me, as you know, France has any number of delicacies that are very high in calories and fat. And I know you can choose not to eat them, but it's really why bother? And I think spending a week hiking, I do exercise and do other stuff on the side. So for me, it was a really nice to incorporate some sort of exercise into a vacation. Mm-hmm. So for me, that was the bonus, the thing that I liked the most. Mm-hmm. The thing that I liked the least was the actually getting lost. I found it very frustrating. After a certain point, you just go with the flow. I think there was some improvement to be done in the instructions with the tour company. So the things that I would say.
Yeah. And so I suspect that this tour company sells these services in a variety of areas in France.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's one main organizer, and all these other companies kind of purchase the package from this one main person.
I see.
Or organizer, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah. And
the couple that we met, they were doing the same tour with the same mats, but through a different
right
broker, if you will. Yes.
Yeah. So randonnée maps is something you mentioned before. So these are walking maps for people who don't know, and they're pretty well known. And I think you could organize that sort of thing for yourself. Do you think you? I mean, if it hadn't been for the luggage, do you think you could have organized this whole thing by yourselves?
We could now.
So. Yeah.
Now that we've done it, probably. But the other thing about that is as I had mentioned, Dawn and I are planners, so we wanted to get our hands on those maps as soon as we booked the tour. But they didn't release the maps because I think they were afraid we would kind of cancel the tour and do it ourselves.
Well, yeah.
But I want to mention one other thing. So Jock and Moira, who we had met on the tour, Jock, in addition to his maps, I don't know how he knew this. Perhaps his tour company had told him, but on the second day of the hiking, we were instructed to arrive at a certain town to have, there's no restaurant or anything in this town, but to go to the general store and pick up supplies for lunch sort of thing.
Yeah.
Jock knew that this place closed at 12:30, and if we hadn't have met him, we would have had no idea. So we left early enough to make sure that we got there before they closed at 12:30.
And that was one of the days of the 18-kilometer hike.
Yeah,
right?
where you definitely want to eat something.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So if we had missed that cutoff, then, we had nuts and like little things with us, but nothing substantial.
Right. Well, and, being French, I know this. Because bakeries and, you just know the normal business hours of these tiny stores that, because it's what makes sense. Like in my village, we have a bakery that opens, or they probably open at 7 a.m. and then they close around 1:30, but then they don't reopen until 5. Okay. Whereas the little general store kind of thing, she opens starting like at 3 and until 10 p.m. So you just know, but that's just that one store. I think her hours are a little strange because most small grocery stores will be, 8 to 12:30, and then probably 3 or 4 till 7 or 8 or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, if you don't know that would be important information to have. Like, what time do you open and what time do these stores open and close?
Well, we could have been crying on the doorstep if we had gotten and they had closed. We were so hungry at that point.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so for people who want to do this by themselves, there are several types of maps you can get in France. You can, so the GR maps are really good, and you also have, what's the other one called? IGN. They do maps with different scale.
Okay.
So you can buy a map, depending on how far you go, you can buy a map with a smaller scale, and you can use those on your devices too.
Oh, okay.
And I'll put a link to those on the website. But it's true that if you do it yourself, then you have to plan at least where you're going to sleep that night, and see if there's going to be a restaurant.
Yeah.
Right.
And with us, the accommodations also included our dinner meal as well. So the only thing that we really had to worry about was lunch.
Right. And they usually included breakfast, I assume?
Yes. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, that makes it easier if you know the accommodations. And did you have a choice of accommodations? Like, would they tell you? Well, I guess you didn't, because most of these places won't have that many choices. Like, there might be a B&B in a village, but there won't be like a B&B in a hotel.
No, I think there were a couple of hotels. but most of them were bed and breakfast. And that was what I enjoyed about the tour the most, is meeting the people in these tiny little towns and walking through little towns and seeing how people live and kind of experiencing culture. And you really don't experience that if you're in a tour bus.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's very nice.
Yeah.
Just lovely people.
Yeah, I'd second that. The smaller villages. I mean, we both, Steph and I had both been to Paris before. And so after my trip to Paris, I mean, that was 15 years ago, I really wanted to go back and go into the smaller villages just to experience that type of life. And I'm totally thrilled with the experience that we had, actually.
Me too.
That's good. Yeah,
That's an interesting looks when we were walking through towns.
You did? Why?
We had our little Canadian flags on our backpacks. Our girls with backpacks walking through your town, and because there was one town in particular, this lady came out and she just kind of stood by her fence staring at us. We always wave. We saw a lot of dogs. A lot of dogs barked at us. We saw dogs and geese, and what else did we see? Tons of wildlife, deer.
Yeah.
I'm sure you got attacked by mosquitoes.
No.
Really?
We didn't even bring bug spray with us.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. We did. I mean, when we were walking through the vineyards, where was that? We ran into like clouds of the Saint-Émilion. So clouds of the fruit flies, and unfortunately, I'm a little bit of a klutz, so I'm always looking down when I'm walking to make sure that I don't trip over anything. And I should have been looking up because I walked directly into this cloud of fruit flies or whatever.
I think they're Asian fruit flies.
Yeah. Oh.
They were attracted by the rotting grapes on the vineyard.
Oh my gosh. They were everywhere.
So this was late September after harvest?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you, I went on a hike in the Gatineau area in Canada a few years ago with some friends.
Yeah.
We got eaten alive by the bugs.
What time of year?
It was July, I think.
Yeah.
It was either July or early August. I don't remember. I thought I was going to die. The back of my neck was like landing site for hundreds of bugs. And the Canadian friends we were with, they both had a hat that covered their necks, but they didn't think to tell us to bring something.
Oh, no.
Oh, we were eaten alive. France doesn't have that many bugs overall. I have never seen so many bugs than I did in that Gatineau area. Beautiful, though, gorgeous. Can't beat it. But, the bugs are nasty.
Well, we're sorry about that.
Yeah, I know. You're Canadians. You would apologize.
Exactly. We're sorry about everything.
That's great. That's great. So I know you speak French, Dawn.
Yes.
Yes. The rest of you didn't.
No.
Was that
very much?
A little bit. Okay. Was that a problem ever, or did you get along fine without the French?
I think with our working knowledge of French, we would have been fine. However, we did rely a lot on Dawn to translate, especially in the restaurants. There were some menus that we just couldn't figure out what they were.
Yeah.
I think without her, we would have been a little bit more self-reliant, maybe with our guidebooks or translation books. But it was great to have her there.
I think, and I mean the places where we stayed, they could speak English, but it was easier, obviously, for them to speak French to me. And they were more at ease speaking French. So I think we had a better conversation with them speaking French to me and then translating it back to the others.
That's cool. And if people are listening and they're wondering when are we going to get to the specifics of your itinerary and all that, we're not really going to do that on this podcast because you have kept a blog where you describe more of your itinerary and you've added a lot of photos and all of that great stuff. So I think I will link to the blog and people who visit the show notes for this episode will be able to see all of that.
Okay, great. Perfect.
Of all the places that you visited, though, you went to Saint-Émilion, which is a gorgeous little town. do you want to talk about maybe one that sticks out in your mind as particularly beautiful or interesting?
So we're looking at the places where we stayed. The last place was in a town called Barsac.
Yeah.
And it was actually the accommodations were absolutely amazing. They're beautiful. It's an old castle. And the proprietors, Paul and Jeanette, I think were their names, were just absolutely lovely and so welcoming. And the food was just incredible. Like Jeanette was the one who cooked our meals, and it was just like eating in a 5-star restaurant.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was, Jeanette did the cooking and Paul did the serving, and he explained what each course was. And we were there along with Moira and Jacques, and there was another couple staying there as well. That was probably my favorite place as well, because it was at the end of the tour. So we really could relax, and they had a saltwater swimming pool. We got there mid-afternoon, so we all had a swim, and then we had a glass of rosé, and we just kind of put our feet up.
Yeah.
It was just
that's nice.
Yeah. And
I love saltwater swimming pools.
And I really like the town as well, actually. And we ended up at a restaurant for lunch with it was a family-run restaurant, and it turns out that the family was going to be traveling to Canada and the U.S. this year, actually, in 2017. They were selling everything. And so we exchanged emails. And so since that time, we've been in touch a couple times via email, because they're planning their route that they're going to take. They're going to be landing in Halifax, Nova Scotia, touring around Canada, and then driving down into the U.S. and then going back home. So
nice.
So they have a blog, and they have a Facebook page that they're going to keep track of all their journey. And so it's really nice to just be in touch with them. So I hope they actually do come to visit us. So I think that would be wonderful.
Oh yeah, that would be fun. So I'm looking at your blog right now. You went to Bordeaux, obviously, then Saint-Émilion, which we mentioned already. Then you went to Bordeaux.
Yes.
We stopped. We had one night in Saint-Martin-de-Lerme before Bordeaux.
Okay. And then Bordeaux, then Saint-Macaire.
Yes.
Which is funny because that's known around Toulouse for the place where the Airbus bits, the bits that are too big to come via airplane, they get shipped on a barge to Saint-Macaire, and then they use the Garonne River to come to Toulouse. So so I've never been to that place. I just know about it because of that.
Well, that hike between Bordeaux and Saint-Macaire, that was the most beautiful hike we did. That was a beautiful hike along the river. It was a lovely day. The leaves were falling. We were surrounded by birch trees for the most part. That was my favorite day hiking.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then you went to Sauternes?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Barsac.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And then you did some other stuff in France. You went to Chambord, you went to Paris, but we're not going to get into all of that right now.
Okay.
In Bordeaux itself, you saw the Musée du Vin, which I have never been to myself, but I hear is really fabulous. What did you think?
I really liked it. It's a little bit, it's kind of at the edge of the city, or the edge of the Place de la Bourse main area. So we walked there along the riverfront, and there are lots of little shops and restaurants all along the whole waterfront area in Bordeaux is beautiful. And we've never been there before, but I was very impressed by that. And we walked to the Musée du Vin. We spent about 3 hours there. There were lots of interactive displays, really something for everyone. Very educational and fun at the same time. What would you like to see? You really liked it.
I really liked it just because, I mean, you could go anywhere, see anything you wanted at any time. There's no prescripted path through the museum. So it was, so you could choose what you wanted to see and where you wanted to spend your time. And then they had, of course, a little gift shop, which was really cute, nice stuff in there. And then the most important part was the top, was the top floor, which, you know, it offered like absolutely breathtaking views of the city, and because it was all glass. And then that's actually the price of admission actually included a wine tasting. And so that's where the you met your sommelier and they, recommended some wines, and so you get to taste one. And so,
that's nice.
Yeah, and lovely. Again, the staff there were so super helpful and friendly.
That's really nice. Yeah, next time I'm in Bordeaux, I need to do that. That sounds really like Bordeaux is a lovely city anyway. It's pretty. It's well worth a couple of days, I think.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I did really feel like last time I've been there many times for business and for different things. But last time I was there, I had most of the day to myself, and I walked around, and I felt like in the day I had seen a lot of what I wanted to see. If I didn't know the city at all, I think I might want to just spend one overnight. Arrive in the morning, visit that day, overnight, visit a little more the next morning, and then move on. I think would be probably enough for Bordeaux.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah. Wonderful. Saint-Émilion, of course, is a beautiful place. We did a whole podcast about that. It was episode 40. And we did also a podcast about Bordeaux. We probably did a couple about Bordeaux if people want to check those out. Let's see. I want to talk to you about going to eat at l'Entrecôte in Bordeaux, because that's a mini chain and it's a fun experience. Do you want to tell us what you had and how it works?
Sure. So we met the sommelier at the Musée de Vin, and she recommended this l'Entrecôte. We've never heard of it. So off we went, and we got there, and we soon learned that the only thing they have on the menu is beef and French fries.
Yeah.
Which is fine because we love beef and French fries.
Who doesn't? Well, some people don't, I guess.
So you get to choose the doneness of your beef. And when you walk in, it's kind of neat because it's very cozy. The walls are covered in plaid wallpaper, and they've got all these medals of awards that they've won for their beef, and pictures of cattle everywhere. So you kind of walk in, and we had a great view overlooking one of the little squares in Bordeaux. And it was a sunny day. So we sat down, and so you get to choose the doneness of your beef, and then they give you a little bit of a salad as well.
Yeah.
And of course a baguette and wine, which is always important. And all you can eat French fries.
Yep. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
So there's one in Bordeaux, one in Paris, one in Toulouse, one in Montpellier. I'm pretty sure there's one in Lyon. I'm sure there's some in other cities in France too. And look it up, Entrecôte. I'll write the name out so you can find it if you're listening to this and you want to find that.
It was absolutely delicious. It was melt in your mouth.
And the sauce, the sauce that they had on it. Gosh, so good.
Yeah, I have tried to make that sauce. Everybody tries to make that sauce. If you Google it, you will find a lot of attempts at making for the recipe for that sauce. But I think it's duck fat. I think it's some sort of mild mustard, some sort of mild vinegar, so like maybe an apple vinegar or something.
Right.
Some thyme, maybe some basil, but I'm not sure. See, it's really hard to, but it's just got this lovely flavor to it. Just thinking about it, I want to go again.
I would definitely go again.
I would definitely go again.
Yeah, and the trick to eat there is that it's often very full, but what you do is you show up like a little bit late after the first service. So they open the doors at noon or shortly after noon, and they start serving really by the time everybody's settled in, because the restaurant, there's always a line, so the restaurant fills up right away, and they start serving by 12:15, 12:20. So these people are going to start finishing their meal at 1:15, something like that.
Right.
You want to show up at that time. So if you show up at 1:15, 1:20, most of the time you don't wait.
Yeah,
See?
I think we arrived at around 1:30, and there was no place outside on the patio, but we were, like Steph said, we were upstairs right by a window, and it was just as nice.
Yeah.
And we maybe waited 5 minutes to be seated.
Mm-hmm. That's not bad. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. Whereas if you arrive at, I don't know, if you show up at 12:30, well, the first people who are being served just started their meal. So, you know, you're going to be there the whole time they're eating. Because once it's full, it's full. What are you going to do?
Right.
You know, so yeah. So that's a little bit of a trick. So did you end up drinking wine every day on this thing? Like, did you have wine tasting every day at least?
We did drink wine every day, but not in excess. So, you know, we would have a leisurely glass of wine with our meals.
Yeah.
Usually just at dinner. But we're big water drinkers as well. So we were drinking water all the time just so we would never get dehydrated, especially with hiking. But the glass of primarily rosé was just kind of a little treat every day that we did indulge because we were on vacation.
Of course. Oh, I have a glass of wine every day, and I'm not even on vacation, so I totally understand that. And where did you find your water? Like, I suppose you didn't carry enough water for the whole day?
No, well, usually we brought collapsible water bottles with us. So before, like the days of the hike, we would fill up before we left the hotel. I mean, the water in France is potable, right? So from the tap. So it's great.
We drank tap water.
Yeah, so we drank tap water most of the time.
Yeah. Did you have to stop anywhere to ask for refills?
I don't think we did. No.
Okay.
I mean, there were some days where I think I probably was a little dehydrated by the end of the day just because if you're on the move and you're in the middle of the woods, you don't necessarily want to have to stop to use the washroom.
Yeah.
But we definitely drank a lot of water once we would stop.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Our bottles were about 1 liter each, I think. Yeah. And between the four of us, we had plenty to get us through the day.
Yeah. So another tip for people who are walking through France or biking is that most small villages will have one public bathroom in the village somewhere, and it's very often, you're going to laugh, but it's very often near where the area where people can play boule, pétanque.
Oh, okay.
Okay, most villages, at least in the south of France, will have an area where older gentlemen can gather up and play their game of, it's like a bocce kind of game, it's a pétanque thing. And very often they have a bathroom near that because the old guys can't hold it.
Yeah. And we did a couple of those. And another tip would be to always carry Kleenex with you. Yes.
You never know what the bathroom facilities are going to be like. When I go around places I don't know, I have a mini bathroom kit where I have like wipes and Kleenexes and things like that. So I can take care of what I need. You know, where I am, and you're like, sometimes you have to clean up a little bit before you use the facilities. So.
And hand sanitizer, very important.
Very important.
Yeah. That's also very, very good. Well, okay. What did I forget to ask you about? Would you do it again?
Packing, carry on, or any of that?
Yes. Carry on. What did you packed light, right?
Yeah, so I think we did strictly carry on. So when we got in country, that's when we went and bought, any of the liquid stuff that we left at home because we couldn't bring it in the carry on luggage. But I think our suitcases, mine I think was like 21 inches. Steph's was 18 or 20.
I think it's 18.
Yeah, so we did strictly, small suitcases because a lot of the places even though we weren't transporting our luggage during the hike, we still had to get it up and down stairs within the hotels or in the areas in the B&Bs we were staying. So it's really, and I mean, there's not very many elevators. So you don't want to be lugging like a 50-pound bag up and down the stairs. So I think packing light is
very important. And when I've gotten better at that over the years, I've kind of learned the hard way that it's just so much easier to pack light.
Yeah, and there are places where you can do a little laundry if you need to.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I wear a lot of merino wool, and for merino wool, say a t-shirt, for instance, you can actually rinse that out at night and hang it to dry, and it will dry overnight.
Oh, that's really good.
It's great.
A lot of the more technical, the fabrics that they do for
hiking
and stuff. Yeah, the technical items that's what they're made for. I mean, you can wash them and dry them really quickly.
Yeah.
We also discovered a lot of the places that we stayed had heated towel bars.
Yes.
So we would rinse our socks out and kind of lay them over the heated towel bars at night, and they would dry.
Yeah, that's good.
We may do just fine.
Yeah, and those heated towel bars, well, depending on how they run, but if they're hooked to a central heating system, then they're not going to be turning on, depending on when, if the central heat is on, they're going to be on.
Mm-hmm.
But the one, like at my house, it's electric, so you can just push a button and the towel bar just heats up for 2 hours and then it turns off. Anytime. So that's how it works. Very good, very good. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming to talk to me. Oh, yeah. Sorry, not done. You talked about packing cubes in your blog, and I had never seen those. You want to explain what these are?
Sure. So, I mean, you can buy them. I mean, I think Steph and I both bought ours on Amazon, and they're really great because it helps you organize your clothing. So you can put all your tops in one and you can put all your bottoms in the other, or you can mix and match based on, outfits for the day or weeks that you're packing for. But what it enables you to do is you roll your clothes and you kind of stuff it down into the cube, and it allows you to pack more, but within the same space.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Different size.
I need to look at those.
They're great. Yeah, they're great.
Because when you do carry on, it's really important to have, to be effective with how much you can put in there. And one last question is, did you feel, like 4 women traveling alone in the countryside, did you feel safe?
Well, that's a good point because I'm very conscientious about that sort of thing, and we absolutely felt so safe. I wouldn't have felt as safe if I had just been maybe with one other person, but because there were 4 of us, we felt very safe in the country. I mean, and we were in the woods a lot of the time, but we really didn't see anyone else.
No, we passed one traveler camp. But
yes.
But that was
Saint-Émilion.
Yeah, but that's the only.
That was a little.
That was
nerve-wracking.
That was a little bit concerning.
There were probably 3 or 4 camper trailers. They were set up with a bunch of people kind of sitting around, and all these barking dogs. They saw us on the trail and they started barking, but we just kept moving. We just moved quite quickly away from there. But that was probably the only time I thought, we don't need to linger here.
No.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because, and you didn't run into other hikers?
No.
Other than Jock and Moira. No.
But
that's surprising.
It could have been the time of year, though, too, Annie, because, I mean, this was the first week of October. So, everyone's already back into work.
School work.
Yeah. So, but for us, it was a good time of year, just because it's for traveling over at that time of year. The crowds are less. You don't have to wait in line to do things as long and stuff like that. So
yeah, because where I hike, there's always other hikers. Okay. I mean, unless the weather is awful,
right?
Yeah,
there's always somebody out there hiking around. Well, but I'm close to Toulouse. I never get very far from Toulouse. That's probably the reason why. There's more people. Yeah. Well, Stephanie and Dawn, thank you so much for talking to me. Again, I would really encourage everybody listening to go to your blog to read about your adventures, see more details, see some photos, and they can probably write to you, right, if they have specific questions.
Of course.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We're both on group as well, too. So if they want to post a question to us, definitely.
That's great. Facebook. Yeah, so on the Join Us in France closed group on Facebook.
Yes.
Yes, excellent.
All right.
Thank you for coming on the show. You are awesome.
Thanks, Annie.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
This is the French tip of the week. Tu ne peux pas changer la tête avec laquelle tu es né, mais t'as pas besoin de faire la tête. Tu ne peux pas changer la tête avec laquelle tu es né, mais t'as pas besoin de faire la tête. Tu ne peux pas changer la tête avec laquelle tu es né, mais t'as pas besoin de faire la tête. Tu ne peux pas changer la tête avec laquelle tu es né, mais t'as pas besoin de faire la tête. Thanks for listening to the show. To find out about tours offered by Elise and I, visit addictedtofrance.com. Please subscribe to the Join Us in France email list. It only goes out about once a month, but it is where you'll find out about our most recent episodes, and you'll also be the first to hear about promos we are running on the tours and anything else new we're cooking up. I invite you to look up the Join Us in France closed group on Facebook, a great place for folks who know a ton about France, exchange tips with those who are just starting to look into visiting France. À bientôt!